This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace.
Good morning, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Saturday Morning Mysteries. We're your hosts. I'm Grace.
And I'm Alexis.
And we're back with another wild, crazy story, journey, saga, adventure.
All of
We
the
don't know what to call it, but another episode of Animalia.
Yes.
This week, Alexis is on her second to last episode.
Yes, this is my third. Yep.
Yes,
third
her
episode.
third
Second to
episode.
last.
We've got 3 more in this arc, I'm pretty sure, and including this one. So I don't know where it's going to take us today, but I'm ready. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Or I'm not.
Or I'm worried. It's gonna take a place. No, you should. Yes, you. All of the above can be true. You can and should feel all of those things right now. This is
I'm feeling
a
it.
cocktail of emotions coming together in this episode.
Okay.
Because remember, for those of you who have been following this arc, you may also remember that a couple of weeks ago in my last episode of Animalia, I raised an interesting question, slash Gabubu raised an interesting question,
Yes.
kind of out of nowhere. He asked the question, who is Peter Applebottom? Or he raised the question,
Yes.
who is Peter Applebottom? And it really had nothing at all to do with that episode.
Yeah, I mean,
it came out of nowhere. We were all confused. Iggy was confused when he was asked this in that episode. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to get to the bottom of it. Who is this Peter Applebottom character? And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about season 1, episode 12 of Animalia. And classically, the name of that episode is Being Peter Applebottom.
Oh, okay. And so is this a Gabubu centered episode?
Kind of. Not kind
he's
of.
Like
Gabubu
he's getting to
is
the
one
bottom
teaching. No. Gabubu is not the one getting to the bottom of it, but he is the one who teaches us like the greater lesson to be learned in this.
I guess that's
episode.
what I mean of like.
Yeah.
We're going to see more of Gabubu because so far we've only kind of, he's like
kind of
he's only kind of been here and there. Like, you know, he's playing the drums. He's scaring the bad guys by being a big gorilla.
Yeah.
And he's kind of just being a bro.
But we
so
don't know.
I just want more screen time about him.
Yeah, so that is fair. That we will get.
Okay.
Like
I guess that's
more
what
screen time, but okay, cool. Yeah. So well, there's a lot of Gabubu in this episode. We'll put that. He's top billing. Let's put it that way. Okay.
Whose name is at the top of the marquee of this episode?
Exactly.
Gabubu? Okay.
Gabubu.
I'm ready.
So, yes, the episode, it takes place during the harvest season in Animalia. Again, concerning because it means that these kids have now been here for seasons.
Oh, yeah.
Not just a day or two, a week or two in Animalia, but seasons.
Also, sorry, and just thinking about that of like, we haven't seen them go back home at all, and I know only minutes are passing at home, but like, they've been here. I guess this is an extended summer vacation, but like, they've got to be hurting developmentally. Like, they should be back in school right now.
When you're that age, like days add up a lot in terms of like developing your brain and like
they're gonna go back
needing
to
like build rote memorization and things like that. Like, hey. And again, even if it is only like a week in the real world, like that's one, it's concerning. These kids have been missing for a week, and 2, like, no, you've been missing a week of school. You need to go back and hey. No, they're not concerned. They don't care. We're a lot more concerned than they are. So
okay. I am. It's because I'm an adult. This is why I'm concerned. I'm sure if I was a kid, I would be like, this is the dream.
Exactly. But again, goes back to the point I made a couple weeks ago. Like most shows that we watch growing up that have kind of similar themes of kids getting trapped in this other world, like the kids realize that they need to either go out, like they're trying to actively find their way out of this scary new world, or they're like going back and forth in between because they realize like, hey, no, like, I'm a human. I got homework. I need to eat actual food.
I got family
eating down there. I have a family that loves me. Exactly. What's happening? Anyways, so more questions about Animalia. But Yes, it's harvest season, and Gabooboo is feeling extra goofy this time of year.
Okay.
I think it's something about picking nuts off of like trees and stuff that just gets him excited. He likes food. He's very food motivated. And so we see the core gang collecting a heap of bongo berry nuts, as they are called.
Okay.
They basically just look like giant coconuts.
Oh,
Like
okay.
that's yeah, they're like brown and round. That's it.
Yeah.
But everything has to have a different and fun,
Name.
silly name in Animalia. And Gabooboo, as they're picking all of these nuts, he reminds the core team that it's important to have fun while working, which is why he's being extra goofy and everything.
Okay.
And he tells them his quote of the episode. It's find the funny, find the fun, and a hard day's work will soon be done. Which
Okay.
basically is what we would equate to like time flies by when you're having fun, right?
Oh, cute.
You're having fun. It's easy to get work done when you're enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah.
And when you're making fun or like making things fun while you're
Funny.
doing it,
Yeah.
I should say. Yeah, exactly. And so to do this, Gabooboo starts playing a series of pranks on the core gang, but
Mm.
especially on Iggy. And the first prank, it's fun. Iggy is like, aha, you got me,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But then he keeps pranking him, and I don't
Mm.
like really remember what he's doing, but like
It's too much.
it's getting a little more and more annoying. And by the third time, I think Iggy is not only a little embarrassed by the fact that he keeps
Yeah.
falling for these pranks, but they are actually starting to scare him because Gabooboo is this massive gorilla who keeps like popping up in Iggy's face.
Yes.
And so our soft, sensitive little Iggy, he does get a bit offended and
Mm.
tells Gabooboo that all of these pranks and all of these jokes are disrupting their harvest and annoying the entire group and slowing
Mm.
down their work. So Iggy, sadly, he crashes out eventually. Like he erupts in front of Gabooboo after Gabooboo fails to take him
Oh,
seriously.
he
I know, it's pretty
just
sad. In
push
fact,
to the end.
I would in fact say that this is as much Iggy's episode as it is
Okay, I do love
Gabooboo.
Iggy.
Like he has some moments here that really pull at my heart, and I'm like, oh, my heartstrings. Like, oh, poor Iggy, this little
Iggy.
guy. He's just trying to have a good time, but also get stuff done. So, yes, he crashes out. He tells Gabooboo that he's sick of the pranks and that he needs to work now and be goofy later. And he
Mm.
tells Gabooboo basically, like, get the fuck out of here. Like, take your pranks, get the fuck on. This is becoming too much. You're
Right.
scaring us and becoming just like too much. You're creating a mess because I think they're like
And
dropping nuts as
we're like
he's
not getting
scaring
work
them.
done now. We're gonna be here
Exactly.
longer.
Exactly. Like there's
You're
a
hurting
line, okay? One or two jokes is cool, but like take it seriously for a
and like get
second.
shit done. This is the worst type of
So
coworker. Gabubo.
exactly.
Like, I
All
just want to get
fun,
this
no work.
done, man. Let me
Exactly.
just finish my
But
task.
and it's the way that you always describe Gabooboo, just like 17-year-old teenager, just like
Yep.
a teenage boy, just like down to vibe and clown around, but never actually
Yep.
wants to take things seriously.
Yep.
So Gabooboo realizes that his friends, they're not really vibing with all the pranks and the jokes and everything, not the way that he
Mm.
thought they would, and like not the way that he is vibing with them. So, with his head hung low, he turns around and he leaves Alex, Zoe, and Iggy to get back to their harvest, and he starts to head back to the tree house.
Mm.
And at first, Iggy sees how sad Gabooboo is and starts to feel a bit bad, actually, about how harsh his
Mm.
words were, telling Gabooboo to like stop joking around and to get away from them.
Mm-hmm.
And he really thinks that he's hurt Gabooboo's feelings. But thankfully for all of them, Gabooboo actually doesn't get too far
Okay.
because, less than thankfully, a massive earthquake strikes Animalia.
Oh no. Okay. Is
Yes.
this a core earthquake?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Okay.
After a core spore shoots from the library.
Oh,
Yes.
with no like. Okay. Sometimes I feel like
No,
they have
like
like a
warning.
yeah. Like sometimes
Yeah.
like in your episode, like one of your episodes, like Livingston dropped a book on the core and
Yeah.
it pissed it off and it flew out, or he was yelling and it flew out. Okay. Okay. So we have no
No,
idea.
this one, and I'm glad that you mentioned that because I do kind of have a note in there. Like this one doesn't really in there and here my script of like I have a note in there
In the cloud.
of just like this one doesn't seem to have been caused by anything almost. Like we pan
Okay.
to Rini and Livingston in the library watching the core,
They're like, oh
not
shit.
interrupt, but watching. Yeah, they just like hear it rumbling, they hear the earthquake, and then they look at the core. They're not even standing by it for real. They look over at the core and then just like a spore flies out
Oh,
of it.
okay.
So it's just angry today. Again, it's a god. What did we thought?
It's an angry, vengeful god.
It's just angry. They obviously did not sacrifice enough.
Of we don't know what to
We
it,
don't know
but
what to
other
please
children who
it.
fell through portals, perhaps.
Exactly. They're like, there's only two children here. We need two more. And
These
then
ones
the
are
core will
useful.
be
Get two
complete.
useless ones in here.
Hmm.
Okay.
So, yes, this
Cool.
massive earthquake strikes all of Animalia, which is also pretty scary because usually, like, it rumbles around the library when the
Yeah.
core has a spore eject from it. But this literally takes up all of Animalia. Like, the kids and Iggy and Gabubu are
Oh.
deep in the jungle, far away from the library, and they're
Uh-huh.
like wobbling over and falling down, and bongo berry nuts are falling out of the trees over top of them.
Damn. Okay.
And Gabubu, so feeling this earthquake, he immediately turns back around to protect his friends. And he's
Mm.
like swatting all of these bongo berry nuts away from them and like sticks
Uh-huh.
and stuff that are falling in branches. He's swatting them away from the kids and like picking them up and like throwing them off to
As some
safety.
other workers.
Yeah. He's like, you guys will be fine.
This you take care of your own crew. This is my work crew.
Exactly. I got these guys over here. But unfortunately, in his heroism, Gabubu gets boinked pretty effing hard on the head by one of those coconut things,
Oh.
bongo berry nuts. I hate calling that. It just
Just call them
sounds so
coconuts.
weird.
Fuck it.
I want to, but like it's kind of they come up a lot. We'll call them coconuts, but I might go back and forth a little bit.
Oh,
Anyways,
okay. I'll know what you mean if you say either.
exactly. Yeah, we get each other. So the coconut hits Gabubu very, very hard on the head, and he
Okay.
actually briefly falls unconscious after getting
Oh.
boinked. Yeah, which is
How?
bad. Yeah,
That must be. It must take a lot to knock a gorilla out,
gorilla.
right?
Damn, I should have looked that up. That would have been a great tangent for this episode. Yeah, like what force?
Got to be a big skull, right?
Because their skulls are dead. They have to be thicker than. I mean, yes. I don't even want to ask if they're thicker than ours. I feel like they are. Like that can't be a question.
Yeah,
right?
we're like way more fragile than a gorilla. Like a gorilla, I think, could probably crush our head immediately.
Yes,
and
exactly.
and
I'm trying to imagine if a coconut landed on one of them. Yeah, that would fucking hurt. That would hurt so bad.
Yeah, I would definitely pass out if coconut hit me in the head.
Yeah. So yeah, he falls unconscious, which is very bad.
Yes.
As we know, I'm sure that just like it is for humans, falling unconscious after being hit on the head, it's very bad for gorillas probably as well.
Yeah.
And so Alex, Zoe, and Iggy, they're panicked when they turn around and see Gabubu just like laid out under a tree very dramatically. And they shake him to wake him up and they're yelling his name. Okay. And Gabubu, he slowly comes to and his eyes are just like opening up. We like see the POV through his lens and like everything's a little blurry and foggy.
Man,
and
he hears for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And he has actually, you're about to find out in just a second, he has much worse than a concussion.
Oh.
He hears these people saying Gabubu, Gabubu, and he kind of sits up and in a British accent says, "Who is this Gabubu? My name is Peter Applebottom, and I have no time for pranks, jokes, or being called Gabubu."
Hold on. Pause everything. Hit the pause button. Okay. So one, he is Peter Applebottom?
He says he is.
We'll get to that. Okay, interesting.
There's so much more to unravel.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so he's at least claiming in this moment to be perhaps there is an actual Peter Applebottom. I'm getting out my red yarn right now as I'm talking. This is my version of red yarning it.
This is probably the best episode of the show that we've ever done, to have red yarn everywhere. Grace, when I say there's so much more to unravel, we're at the bottom of page 1 of my 5-page script.
Okay, I'll keep this really brief then. Okay, one, my first string is Good Boo Boo. I've got a red yarn, and then I just have like
Uh-huh.
a silhouette with a question mark on it. Peter
Yeah.
Applebottom, is he real? Question mark. That's the first
Question.
one. The second
Is
one
he
was, can you
real?
repeat what the quote was?
Yeah, so he says various things over time. I
There
kind
was
of mashed
something
it up into
about the
one
quote
line,
though that made me think of
but
something else.
basically he said, who is Peter Applebottom? My
Oh wait.
name, or sorry, who is Gaboo? My name is Peter
Yes.
Applebottom. And he goes on about like he doesn't have time for pranks or jokes and like stop calling him Gaboo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here was the second thing is that this very serious British man, question mark, knows that Kabubu is a silly name too.
It's not just us.
It's not just us.
Not
He
just
immediately
us.
clocked it and was like, never call me that name.
He's like, what the fuck? He does say, yeah, he calls out like that
What's a
ridiculous name.
Kabubu?
I think he said, what is that ridiculous name?
Yeah,
It's like,
he's
oh,
right.
wow. Yeah, he's right. Like,
Okay.
And listen, like, yeah, we may agree with Peter Applebottom there, but like, don't fall in love with this ape. We're gonna hate him very soon, but like, yes, we will
Okay.
give him that one.
That's all he
We
gets. Okay.
we're not gonna love Peter Applebottom here
Okay.
in a moment, but before we get to that, Iggy, Alex, and Zoe, like you and I, are in disbelief hearing Gaboo talking this way and this like
Yes.
annoying British accent, very like nasally British accent, and complaining, and obviously being like a vampire of fun, saying that like they need to
Ah,
stop joking around and that he has no time for pranks. And they obviously first think like their instinct tells them, like, oh,
this is
this
a
is
prank.
Gaboo still playing a prank on us.
You know
Exactly.
what? Boy who cried wolf. I would believe it too. I'd be like, good
At this point,
Lord.
exactly, he's run out of his like free chances or
Yep.
whatever to get away with the stuff. So now it's like, no, dude, you're always pranking us. So this is you, right? Still
Mm,
pranking us. But Gabooboo, he doesn't budge in this prank. He leans into it more in this prank, quote unquote.
yeah.
He leans into it more, still telling them, assuring them that his name is Peter Applebottom, that he's never met any of these kids or Iggy in his life,
Okay.
and then he has no idea why he just like woke up in the middle of the woods around them.
Okay. Is he
So
reacting at all that he's a gorilla?
no, he's a
Okay.
gorilla. Peter Applebottom is a gorilla. We'll get to
Okay.
soon. Yeah, that is a good point. We'll put that. Yeah,
Okay.
right. Wow. What if Kabubu thought he was like a human? And he was like, why am I a green
It's like,
gorilla?
wait, what the fuck? 8 seconds ago, I was a donkey. What is
How did I
this?
get in this body?
Okay.
No. So Gabooboo, like I said, since he's not budging, Alex, Iggy, and Zoe, they start to get a little more concerned and they decide to take him to the library, not to the hospital, which I don't even know if they have one in
Great.
Animalia. But they figure, all right, well, since we don't have doctors here, I guess we'll just take him to our dictator king, Livingston T.
He
Lion,
said he was
and
also a
Rini.
doctor, so
Yeah, so I guess he's also the
it's
Surgeon
Dr.
General
Dictator King. Thank
who's
you.
known. Yes. So, of course, yes, they go to Livingston and Rini, hoping that they can take a look at Kabubu and figure out what's wrong with him.
Hmm.
So, at the library, Zoe explains to Livingston and Rini that Kabubu appears to have amnesia or something after
Mm,
he got boinked by a bongo berry nut on the head. So, yes, worse than just a concussion,
yeah.
amnesia as well. And Livingston tells her that actually in Animalia, it's called Bongo Beania, which is the only reason why I was thinking I would still call them bongo
Pongo.
bean nuts. But
So
now
this
that
is
I've said
common.
that, I can call them coconut. I can
Okay.
call them coconuts, so now you
Good.
know.
Good. Thank
And
you. I
yes,
appreciate it.
this is common. Apparently, enough animals in Animalia have been hit on the head by bongo bean nuts, by
Oh, and got
coconuts in
amnesia.
particular, and gotten amnesia because they have a
Damn.
name for it specifically. But in Animalia, such a condition, it does not merely erase one's memory. Oh no,
Okay.
that would be too boring.
Simple.
Really? That's too gauche. Are you serious? That's it? It just
Ugh.
erases your memory?
Sounds really human
No.
of you.
Exactly. How
Ew.
lame. Ew. But instead, this affliction also causes the afflicted to become someone else. In this case,
Okay.
Gabooboo has assumed the personality of one, or has become one Peter Applebottom.
Okay.
And so
It's not like they both switch. He just believes
it
he's the
is
other
not
person now.
explained. I guess in this case, no, they don't switch, and we will learn why soon. Again, like I said, there is a lot of unraveling. So I hope you're unraveling the red yarn as I am unraveling.
Switch question mark. Back to the question mark silhouette. Okay, got it.
Another like short brand saying Bongo Beania question mark parentheses dumb name.
And another line way further out because there's nothing to do with this. Where is Livingston's medical degree? Question mark.
Is he legally allowed to diagnose this in Animalia?
Yeah.
So, yes, so many questions about this Bongobinia amnesia, Animalian amnesia, right? Like, it's one thing to erase one's memory, but what the hell? I feel like the writers are adding too much here, okay?
That's all they do in this show. That's all they do.
They sit while people tell them, you can't do such a thing. And they say, hold my beer. I will do that and more. I will always go over and beyond what you think I can do, whether it makes sense or not. Yes. All day.
Oh my God.
So because like you raised a great question. So does this mean that they actually switch? Is it like a Freaky Friday type of situation, right? How do they know to put a gorilla? How do they know? How does Bongo Beania, the sickness, know to put a gorilla in the body of another gorilla? Are there cases where different animals have switched bodies or brain? Like, there's so many more questions that you raise when you add this extra layer of like, oh yeah, it also makes you become someone else.
Is this identity theft? Should we get the authorities, aka I guess also Livingston in here? Like,
I guess the Dictator King, because the only thing I could think of, like in the real world, the closest thing to this that would exist, because obviously amnesia is like a real thing, but I guess there is also a phenomena of false memory that can accompany amnesia or like brain damage, where the person can either be like through the power of suggestion or through the actual brain image injury, can have a totally different memory of like past events that have happened to them than like what in reality did. So in my mind, I'm like, well, maybe this is like a case of false memory in a weird way. But it's not really false memory, because we'll see in a minute, like there's no way that Gabooboo could remember some of these intimate details about Peter Applebottom, because like
this is also like,
it goes super deep.
Yeah, like that. I don't want someone knowing everything about all my secrets and shit that I'm not telling the public, for just some like rando to suddenly get, because they got hit on the head with something and all of a sudden they know like the most embarrassing things about me or something like that. Like,
exactly.
That nothing is safe.
And like,
nothing is sacred.
Do both people have to be hit on the head at the same time? And then, so again, like a Freaky Friday situation, I don't know. That actually would have been a fun thing to see. We find out by the end, again, some things to like clarify some of this and how that is not the situation. Exactly. But that would have been fun to see. Anyways, so yes, Gabooboo, in this case of amnesia, has now assumed the personality of this Peter Applebottom fella, who we remember a couple of weeks ago in my episode, Gabooboo described as nothing but trouble, basically trouble incarnate. So, who is Peter Applebottom? As we asked ourselves 2 weeks ago,
and
as we are still asking ourselves. Peter Applebottom, he is actually, as we learn later in the episode, a real person or gorilla in Animalia.
Okay.
A historic figure, though, if you will. So he is actually no longer living in Animalia to our knowledge. Now, whether that means he is dead or whether that means he has just left Animalia, we do not know, but he is not there anymore.
I feel like it would make more sense if he was dead. Like,
it would. And I assume that he is, but it kind of just struck me as I was reading that aloud that we don't actually know if he is, but we don't know anything in this show, so we might as well just say, and listen, so we might as well assume that Peter Applebottom probably is dead, especially because of the way they describe him as being very historic and like a figure, an inventor from the early days of Animalia. So like one of the founders, perhaps even, which we'll talk about more in a moment.
I'm putting a big X over my question mark silhouette to mean that he is dead. I'm deciding it.
Cancel out. He's dead. Yes. And I agree with you. So, after kind of like going through the rundown with Livingston and Rini about like this case of amnesia and everything and who the fuck Peter Applebottom is, another startling earthquake strikes Animalia, of course, again, coming from the core. Peter then looks at Livingston and tells him that it appears he has come back to Animalia just in time to repair the core, and he knows exactly what's wrong with it.
Great.
Mm-hmm. So I probably should have hyped this moment up a little bit, but he is actually about to explain to us literally what is wrong with the core and how to fix it, Grace. We're about to kind of actually get an answer to all of this crazy shit that's happening.
You said I went like Peter Applebottom so far.
I know, and that's why I warned you, because like, we're going to see a couple of great things that he does, but just...
Yeah.
I know.
It's showing and it's good. Complex characters.
Exactly. This is a
be bad and do good things, and you can be good and do bad things. Okay.
Exactly. So Peter explains to Livingston, who is like on the edge of his seat waiting to hear what's going on. And Peter says that the core's equilibrium is out of balance and due to a process of degeneration that has now led to regeneration.
Oh, okay.
That's all he says, actually.
That's like more of
could mean 1,000 things, but it's something. Yeah, I was like, okay, I can, in my brain, getting out the red wire here again, I can see how this means something. It's probably so old, the core is so old that it's breaking down, and the breakdown of it is leading to the buildup of something bad in it.
Yeah. Or just like, it's breaking down everything. Yeah. Has a shelf life, degeneration. And like, as part of that could also be like, it has to then recycle and like regenerate itself, all like a phoenix or something like that. But think of like,
or like
growing
the Big
pains.
Bang.
Like,
Exactly.
like that's the core spores just shooting out because it's just like, it hurts to grow and life. To regenerate. And at the same time, it's dying on one side. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
now it's kind of messing up the balance. It's better than anything we've been given so far. So you know what?
It's the only thing we've been given.
It is, and that's why it's better.
Yes. Also,
there was nothing else given.
I'm so sorry to backtrack us, but I now wonder if Peter Applebottom is dead or not, only because during your episode, the context in which it was Peter Applebottom was brought up was Iggy had been like, who's doing this? And wasn't Good Boo Boo like, I bet it's Peter Applebottom.
It was something like that. It was,
which made it sound like present tense.
Yeah. What did Iggy say? He was saying that,
or maybe he was using it as like a curse or something like.
Trouble. I think he said trouble, where he called Gabooboo about something and said, Gabooboo, we have trouble, and trouble has a name.
Oh,
and then Gabooboo said, and his name is Peter Applebottom.
Okay, no, you're right. That could be past tense still of like.
Yeah, it could be either.
Yeah.
Again, it's vague. And I think there are as many signs in this episode today that he is alive as there are signs that he may not still be alive. So like,
God damn it.
I don't know. That X.
The writers couldn't decide.
Put a question mark by the X now.
I have actually just another one going, and it's a silhouette of a gorilla instead of just a general silhouette now that says alive question mark.
Yeah.
Baked like death question mark.
Every theory that you have on your red string board, you also have the opposite theory somewhere else, like with a question mark on it.
My red string board just looks like a ball of yarn. It looks like I didn't unravel the yarn at all.
You just threw the yarn at the wall.
Now I have some yarn going towards the core now. The core one is going towards its own red yarn. But again, I like this explanation. I'm glad we have it.
It is. It's helpful. It's a good one. It's helpful. I'm happy with it because, like you said, there has not been any other explanation so far. So I will take this because we can we can fill in the blanks with that however we wish. It's easier to fill in the blanks than to create something from blank space.
Yes,
so
exactly.
I'm here to fill in the blanks. I'm happy
Perfect.
here to fill in the blanks, I mean.
Yes.
So yes, Peter explains this to Livingston and Rini and Iggy and the kids. And Livingston is equally shocked and impressed that Peter knows this, that he knows so much about the core, and that he knows how to fix it, or like what actually is happening with it.
Yeah.
And so Livingston asks Peter how he knows this stuff. Like, all right, that's really cool, but how the fuck did you learn this? I'm just now meeting you for the first time. Who are you? And Peter, his response is simple. He says, well, I'm a genius. I know everything. With my brilliance, I can repair the core so completely that it will never break down again.
All right.
Livingston?
A scientist speaking in nevers?
And absolutes.
Yeah, absolutes. Thank you.
And so Livingston, he's even more shocked and says, are you joking? Really? And Peter responds, I never joke. Peter Applebottom has arrived in time to save Animalia. You may kiss my feet. And he stands in front of them, hands on his hips, waiting for his loyal subjects to kiss his feet so that he can begin his work on fixing this core.
Sir, do you know you're in front of the Dictator King right now?
And Livingston, he knows how to play the politics. He reads the room here and he's like, all right, well, I need this guy to help me. So he doesn't quite give in. He just says, that's funny, Peter. That's funny. So go ahead and get to it then. Help us fix the core. But Peter says, dude, let's get one thing clear here. I do not do physical labor. It could dirty my hand. However, I will write about how to fix the core, and you and your toadies, he kind of like looks around at them, and you and your toadies can do all the work. And I'll write this book, and I'll call it, quote unquote, How to Restore the Core and Save Animalia for Nitwits.
Damn.
So
he's not reading the room.
He's not reading the room. Livingston and everyone else are. They're all rolling their eyes as he's saying this stuff, and they're like, "Did he just call us nitwits and like toadies?" And basically, he's just saying that we're like sheep, like and like stupid. And
yeah, but they're like, "Fuck, we need his help."
Exactly. They're like, he says he knows how to fix this thing, though. So,
damn.
So here's the thing about Peter Applebottom. If you haven't picked it up already, and I did already say it because I couldn't. He's a giant asshole. A few examples of his absolutely narcissistic, horrible behavior that we see throughout this episode, because I'm not going to like stop and like quote every instance exactly, because it's just he's unbearable. It's throughout the episode, right? So here's just some of the greatest hits. From the beginning of him waking up, from the worst hits, if you will. But yeah, from the beginning of him waking up from like being unconscious after getting hit on the head, ever since then, he's refused to learn the names of anyone around him. And yeah, like Zoe will be like, my name's Zoe or whatever. He's be like, I don't care. He just calls them toadies instead, which I'm pretty sure just means like a sycophant or just like a blind loyal follower who just like will prop up whatever someone else says or something. And he's just like, no one in Animalia needs to know, or sorry, I don't need to know the name of any of you all. You all only need to know my name because I'm the one who's here to save you. He's
I hope he is dead.
Erasing that question mark. You're like, he's dead in my mind. Yes.
He's dead to me.
It gets worse. He forces the kids and Iggy to like pull him around Animalia in this wooden cart.
Wait, he picks the smallest
gorilla. Yes.
Of all them.
All them. Little Iggy is like straining, carrying this thing. All the kids and Zoe and Alex are too, just like huffing and puffing as they're carrying him through Animalia, trying to get him from like point A to B while they eventually are looking for this core spore.
Oh my God.
He eats all of their food and says that he, like, while they're traveling to find the spore, and says that he's more deserving of the food because he's the one who's going to save the day and the genius, and so he needs all the
He's
nutrition
burning
and
no
like all of the
calories.
nourishment, none whatsoever. They're the ones lugging him around.
This
And
man's the
worst
worst.
of all, through all of their journey through Animalia, he refuses to joke around with Iggy and hates the little pranks that Iggy tries to play on him throughout the episode to lighten the mood and make the work at least a little fun in light of this asshole being
Iggy.
forced to like join them on this journey. Yep. So, yeah, like I said before, don't get too attached to Peter Applebottom. I
Yeah, fuck
know
this
he did a
guy.
couple of cool things in the beginning, but he is a
Not that
massive
cool.
asshole.
Yeah.
And yeah, we hate him. We really, really hate him. And we miss Scooby-doo a lot.
Yeah.
So, Livingston, anywho, he reminds the gang that regardless of going back to the library here, obviously,
Yeah.
and they're like, yeah, trying to figure out like what to do next. So he tells them that regardless of Peter's ability to permanently repair the core, they do need to go and find that spore that was lost earlier this morning. So like, yeah, he can stay here and fix it, but we got to get the spore back in here either way. And this spore happens to be called the core spore of stability, which sounds very important, by the way, but I guess
Sounds like
is
a
also the reason
foundational
why.
sport.
Yeah. And I think it's the reason why they're having all the earthquakes. It's not just because the core is upset, but because this particular spore. Yeah, the whole planet is about to collapse as far as we know.
Good.
So Peter, he directs the gang to look at a map nearby in the library, and he tells them that he's calculated the spore's trajectory, taking into account the velocity, the wind patterns, gravitational pull, etc., just showing off that he is a genius and can account for all of these various factors. And he also tells them that he looked at the seismic research in Animalia and triangulated the location of the 3 major fault lines in Animalia, which to me sounds like a lot for major fault lines in one little animal kingdom.
Yeah,
3 of them sounds like a lot.
Y'all should have built this place somewhere else.
You should have built this place somewhere else. Yeah, let's. Well, they're probably wishing that now, but it's a little too late. So he surmises, based on all of this information, that the spore landed somewhere nearby one of these, the most active of these 3 fault lines, near the Bongo Bean Nut Grove, the coconut grove, basically. Okay. And this is like, it appears from the map in like the southwest-ish corner of Animalia, if you will, to help you, if it helps at all for us to frame it. I don't know. Okay. So,
but I'll add Alex, it to my conspiracy wall. Thank you. It does help, actually.
Southwest-ish corner, Coconut Grove.
I just do the line to the southwest of my center.
Yeah. You don't even put anything there. Just a picture of a coconut. That's it. So Alex, Zoe, and Iggy, they try to sneak out of the library after Peter explains this to them. Like, okay, guys, he told us where it is. We can like slowly back out of here and go find it. Exactly. Ditch this kid, leave him behind. He's such an asshole. But Peter, he sees them leaving and he's like, hold on 1 second. I'm coming with you. He refuses to let them go on their own. And so they're like, why? It's fine. Like, we can go get it. You can like stay here and like work on the core or whatever important stuff you have to do. But he says, no, if you guys go and get it without me, you'll come back and say that you found it somewhere else so that you can take all the credit for all the work that I did.
Check your ego.
This is galaxy brain level delusions here of narcissism and grandeur.
Yeah, they're like, check their receipts. They don't brag about like getting 12, those spores. Right. And they're all children.
Yeah, they do not care.
Okay.
So Alex and Iggy tell him precisely this. They're like, we don't care about taking credit. We just want the core to be fixed, and we want Gabooboo back.
Open beneath us.
Yeah, exactly. Especially while we're here. Exactly. Like, we still have the opportunity to get back to like real Earth. Alex and Zoe are saying. So they're like,
or we don't want to be.
We gotta fix this so that we can get home. Exactly. Yeah. So before Peter can retort or like come back with anything clever to say to them about this, another earthquake strikes, and it causes everyone in the library to like lose balance and fall over. And Alex, who for whatever reason is holding a coconut, I don't know, maybe he brought it as a demo to explain to Livingston and Rini like what happened to Gabooboo. I don't know, but for some
he's hungry.
You imagine like Rini in the middle of explaining something intense about a course pour, and you just see Alex like smashing a coconut open.
And he's like, what? Peter ate all of our food.
I'm hungry.
I'm hungry. Please.
I'm hungry.
Alex would. Of everyone, Alex would.
He would be the one. So yes, for whatever reason, during this earthquake, Alex is holding this coconut, but losing balance and control of himself in the earthquake. He drops it and it like flies out of his hands and it lands very hardly directly on Peter's head in a very loud boink.
Okay.
Yes, I know. We're excited, aren't we? We're excited to see this possible concussion, are we not?
Yeah, yes. Get him that TBI.
Get him out of there. So again, the gang, they look like down the staircase where Peter / Gabooboo was just boinked in the head, and they see their buddy again knocked unconscious.
Great.
So they run downstairs to get him, to try to wake Gabooboo up, and also like us low-key hoping that they got rid of his amnesia and got rid of Peter Applebottom. And when he comes to, he indeed is no longer Peter Applebottom.
Okay. Did he finish right in that?
He is now.
Oh, wait, no.
He is now Shecky Gorilla, a stand-up legend, a funny ape, and the king of the animal king of one-liner jokes.
I mean, this sounds like a lot. This sounds like they need to go get some more coconuts and just start chucking them.
Donk, donk, donk. Put a pin in that. That's basically what happens at the end of this episode. It's the
only way to solve this.
I lost count of the number of coconuts that Gabooboo gets hit on the head with in this episode. It's a lot. He does absolutely have a TBI.
Yeah, like he's got to get a brain scan after this.
Yeah, he really does. It's actually really bad. That's the last animal that you want to like have some sort of, like, you don't want him to have an episode when you're just out and about. That would be bad.
This is worrisome.
So yes, we've now got Shecky Gorilla, who I forget. Is it Shecky Keen? Shecky something. There was a comedian back in like the 50s or 60s with the name Shecky. Yeah, but basically this guy has a tough New York accent and he's out here. So yeah, we go from Gabooboo's regular voice to the high, shrill British voice of Peter Applebottom to Shecky Gorilla out here doing one-liners, making the people of Animalia laugh.
Oh my God, I don't know what's worse. Oh, it's bad.
It's all bad. There is no good option here. Yeah. So Shecky decides to do a quick stand-up set for the folks hanging around out.
A quick take 5? Sir.
All right, Shecky, you got time for 10 jokes. Get up there, make them fast.
Go.
Make them love you. This is your one shot.
Time to be a star, kid.
Get on there, make them laugh. So yeah, no, and I love that you said that, because this is like Zoe's exact reaction. She's like, Animalia is falling apart and he's here doing stand-up right now. Like, this is so unserious. Like,
yeah, please be serious.
Like, please be fucking for real for 5 minutes now.
Oh my God. Okay.
So yeah, he does a quick stand-up set outside of the library, and there's like quite a few animals out there enjoying the show. You've got a few elephants and Tyra, of course, standing, Tyrannicus, the tiger who we've met many times in this arc. They're all out there. And look, for the most part, the jokes fall flat because he's like making fun of the animals, like in the audience, basically. I'm trying to think. I didn't write all the jokes down, but one of them is like, why did the elephant cross the road? And it's like, because the chicken had the day off or something like that. And another one is like, what does a tiger say when it gets stepped on by an elephant? And it's like, me ouch or something. Oh my God. And then also the last one is like,
no one's ever heard of Shecky. These jokes are bad. No one's like,
I know.
Oh no, he took Shecky's personality. They're like, whose personality did you take?
Who's this? Yeah. Like, what? who are you? And so the crowd, they're not vibing with these jokes for the most part, to the point where an audience member, Tyra, throws a coconut right at Shecky's head.
Also, that is an aggressive thing to throw at someone.
It's like, that should be very illegal. Like, imagine assaulting someone that way just because their jokes aren't funny.
Yeah.
Like,
yes, that's an assault. Yikes. Okay.
Yeah, pure and simple. And this again knocks Gabooboo out. And so this time, seeing how bad Shecky's jokes are and how he's unable to take this current crisis seriously at all, the kids, they're standing over his like unconscious body and they're like, God, we hope that Gabooboo comes back. Or honestly, even Peter would be better at this point. Like they at one point say
one of them Peter is holding the coconut to see what personality comes out. And if they don't like it, just immediately bash them with it.
Exactly. That's their only option at this point. And, they should have listened to you, Grace, because unfortunately, it is Peter Applebottom who wakes up and not
Gabooboo. You can recycle through?
Yeah, I guess he can like kind of pick and choose who he wants to be. Although I will say thank God, that is the only time we see Shecky Gorilla in this episode.
Out of here.
And I was like, thank God, because this is too much to write. Like I can't keep switching back and forth. This is too much. Okay. Exactly. So yes, unfortunately, we get Peter Applebottom back, but he jumps right on up and he is ready to get a move on to find the core spore of stability and tells the kids to get on going with them. So these kids, Iggy and Peter, they start to make their way through the jungle and towards the core spore, or where Peter thinks the core spore will be. Obviously, like I explained before, with Peter being carried in this cart by the kids and Iggy, being carted around. And multiple times in this journey, when Peter's like not listening to them or not paying attention or like just writing his book on how to save Animalia, Zoe kind of like whispers to the gang, or like the kids are whispering among themselves, like, why don't we just ditch him? Like, we can just leave him here. Like, this guy sucks.
This guy, right?
Worst. Yeah, like we know where to go. Just like leave him here. He won't even know that we're gone. But Alex keeps reminding them that no, they have to bring him. They have to keep him safe and bring him back to the library so that he can finish the book on how to fix the core.
Okay.
But the longer and longer this journey continues, I know, right? Like, if we must. Because the longer this trip goes on, the more annoying and narcissistic Peter becomes, making the core gang really miss Gabooboo and his pranks and really regret like the harsh words, particularly Iggy, the harsh words that he said to him right before he got a concussion, and like kind of how they were fighting before all of this happened.
Yeah.
And sadly, at one point, Alex even starts to pity Peter, saying that like, how sad it must be to be Peter Applebottom. Like, imagine being that smart, that intelligent, and being that much of an asshole. Like, not knowing how to have fun, not knowing how to laugh, not knowing how to be a good friend. Like, they are roasting this dude. But being
don't let Peter hear you say that, because if anything, like egotistical people they do not want to be pitied. Like,
exactly. Don't pity me. You're supposed to either fear me or like bow down to me. Yeah, exactly. You do not pity me. Yep, but they do. And they're like, this dude sucks. Like, it must be hard to be him. Imagine having that much hate in your heart, or like that much lack of empathy.
That much misery. Yep.
Exactly. Must be a sad life, basically, is what Alex says, which I'm like, damn, burn, roast. First great thing Alex has said in this show, in my opinion.
Yeah, for real.
So meanwhile, while the kids and Peter are journeying through these dangerous jungles and whatnot to get to this fault line and find this core spore, at the library, Livingston and Renee are trying to find out more information on Peter and trying to figure out who the hell this dude is and what Gabooboo has to do with him at all. Like, why is he in Gabooboo's brain, and just who even is he? Because they still aren't quite sure if he is who he says he is. So Renee pulls up some information on him and explains to Livingston that Peter Applebottom is, quote unquote, one of the great thinkers and inventors of early Animalia.
Okay.
And she further tells him that there is a book on Peter Applebottom in the biography section of this library.
Okay.
So Livingston, he runs off to grab the book so that he can learn more about this mysterious asshole. And Livingston, he grabs this he gets to the biography section, he grabs the right book, and he finally comes upon it and reads the title out loud, saying, "The Life and Dangerous Times of Peter Applebottom."
Okay.
And this, particularly the word dangerous, sends a chill right down Livingston's spine.
Yeah.
And so he's flipping through. He goes back to Rennie and he's flipping through it. He's studying this thing. He's reading it from cover to cover. But Rennie, after a little bit of him studying, she interrupts Peter and shows him another discovery in the library, a joke book. She holds the joke book up to Livingston and he takes a closer second look. Okay. And notices that the joke book was written by the one and only Shecky Gorilla.
Wait.
Get out that red yarn, Grace.
Wait.
There is a book of jokes by Shecky Gorilla in this library, in addition to a biography of Peter Applebottom.
Okay, yeah.
So
the red yarn's out. But I don't know where to go with it.
I'm just like holding it ready.
I'm ready. I got my pins in one hand, a yarn in the other, and pictures scattered.
Livingston reveals to Rennie, after reading through this biography of Peter Applebottom more, just how dangerous Peter Applebottom is.
Uh-oh.
In his day, in the early days. I have that line in here somewhere. Yeah.
Cool.
In his day, in the early days of Animalia, Peter Applebottom was considered a bit of a mad scientist. Okay. You see, while he was an inventor and one of the early founders of Animalia, and while he has a lot of knowledge of the core, it turns out that back in the day, he attempted and planned to steal a core spore so that he could actually build a core of his own and take over Animalia.
Let's get back to Shecky. Let's get back to
about them jokes.
Yeah, what's in the joke book though?
Why did the tiger cross the road?
Ouch.
Yeah. So, yes, he then continues, going back to Peter Applebottom, he continues by saying that he was a selfish, ruthless genius who would let no one stand in the way of him achieving his goals.
Okay.
And so this frightens Rennie. She clutches her pearls and she says basically what we just said. She's like, we need to call the kids immediately.
Okay, well, thank God that they realized that in the show.
We just sent them into the woods with the maniac.
You also thought that, but the fact, again, this never happens in cartoons or comics or whatever.
Rennie said that 2 seconds later.
Yes. The actual characters being like, uh-oh.
What do we do? We did an oopsie.
Yeah. We should have set an adult with this stranger.
Yes, exactly. In hindsight, we did just send these kids into the middle of a jungle with the maniac. So this is bad. So
after a core spore, no less, the object of his desire.
Exactly, the object of his desire, and there's massive earthquakes going on right now too. And
so anything could look like an accident. Just saying.
Oopsies. So, yes. Well, but they do at least know that because Peter refuses to do physical labor or any sort of manual labor, they're like, okay, he does at least need them for a bit. But yes, he says immediately, Livingston says immediately, we need to get a message to Zoe and her PDA, stat, and let them know, protect yourselves immediately.
Stay calm. He's a maniac.
Don't panic. Don't let him see you react to this message. But he's a murderous maniac and megalomaniac terrorist who is trying to take over Animalia.
He will
Stay calm.
He will stop at nothing. No, don't look behind you.
Yeah. Don't panic. Don't let him see that you're scared at all. Stay calm.
Zoe, probably don't tell Alex and Iggy.
No, because he will give away the game. Yep. So Yes, right before they are able to run away and get this, or run to get this message out to Zoe, though, like I said, the earthquakes, they're still quaking,
Oh
and a
no.
massive one moves through. Like with each one, they're bigger and bigger, they're stronger and
Mm.
stronger. And so this particular one forces Renee and Livingston to duck for cover for a bit and just like kind of stay in place before they can get to his phone or whatever to get
Uh-huh.
this warning message out to Zoe and Alex and Eggie. So it's now been like a full day of traveling through the jungle. Actually, more than a day. I think they camp out for a night somewhere too, like in the middle of these
Oh
earthquakes. It's
no.
There's a lot going on, right? So a full like 24 hours really of traveling through this jungle,
Uh-huh.
and the Course 4 gang finally arrives to the location where Peter Applebottom claims the Course 4 will be found.
Okay.
Of course, deep down in a dark cave, as per usual.
Naturally.
And so, naturally, right. So Zoe, Alex, and Iggy eagerly go into this cave to look for the spore because at this point they're like praying, hoping that their time with Peter Applebottom is coming
Coming
to
to
an
an end.
end. So they're like, "Oh, deep dark cave, way better than dealing with this
We'll all
fuckface behind me."
go.
So happy to go, happy
Yeah.
to do it. So right as they're going into this cave, Zoe gets a text message from Livingston on her phone.
Watch out.
But
Watch your
watch
back.
out. 5 exclamation points. Gorilla emoji, devil face emoji, skull like and crossbones emoji.
Like 12 of those ones.
Yeah. So unfortunately though, she loses her signal right as she steps into the cave too. So like her phone beeps and she sees that Livingston has texted her, but then like it goes dark and she's like, ah, damn it. Well, you know what? We're very close to getting rid of
Oh
Peter Applebottom
no.
here, so I'll check it when we get out of the cave. Let's just keep moving forward.
Classic.
But they take a few more short steps forward, and thankfully, Alex does spot the core spore right where Applebottom said it would be. So he was right. Again, we hate him, but he does
He
know
knows his
a
shit.
thing or two. He knows his shit. He knows what he's talking about.
Okay.
So Alex runs up and scoops that bad boy up, and the gang, they turn around to make their way out of the cave just literally as another massive earthquake hits.
Ooh.
And this one is the worst of them all because it causes a boulder to actually fall in front of the cave's entrance, trapping this trio inside because Peter Applebottom is still just like out in the cart, just like, legs up, hanging out and everything, enjoying his time. And they are all now trapped inside.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Do they still have the course for?
They do. Yes, they still have the course board. They're still in there. So Peter still needs them to get out.
They all look at each other like they're like still better than being out there with him.
Actually, at one point, Zoe does say, like, well, at least we have fresh air in here to breathe. Like sits down and just like kind of settles in. She's like, yeah, we've been in worse situations like 2 seconds ago when we were out there with Peter Applebottom. Yeah. So thankfully, though, there is like a way gap between the boulder and the ground still. So Iggy is able to like army crawl and sneak his way out. And he's like, don't worry, guys. I'll go get help. You guys stay put. I'll be right back.
Okay.
So Iggy, he does sneak out and he finds Peter, like I said before, still just lounging in the cart, claiming to have just finished his book and asking Iggy to hand over the core spore. But Iggy's like, no, bro, we got bigger problems. The earthquake just caused them to all get trapped in that cave. I don't know how you missed that. You're like right fucking here. That's how self-absorbed he is, I guess. But anyways, so he's like, I need your help getting this rock out of the way, getting this boulder out of the way so that we can get Alex and Zoe out of there and save our friends. But Iggy's like, Iggy. Peter is like, that's too bad. I don't do manual labor. So I don't know.
I guess they'll die
I don't know
then.
what to tell you. I guess, but like, don't know how we're going to get the core out, but that stinks. It sucks for them.
Yeah.
And at this exact moment, another earthquake starts, scaring Applebottom and causing him to just like ditch the entire mission and flee for safety. Because again, it's a bad earthquake. So like, yeah, any normal person would like panic in this instance, but it's just an even worse look that he's doing it after refusing to help Iggy save these people.
Yeah.
But thankfully, while he's fleeing and again running near the coconut grove, he is again boinked on the head.
Oh my God.
I think this is number 4 in this episode,
Oh
maybe.
God. Okay.
Yeah. And this time, though, he doesn't fall unconscious, thankfully, because, like we said
Thankfully.
before, Gabubu already has enough TBIs.
No, get him
So,
another one. Get people out. I'm out of here.
no, but it's okay because we learned that, like, he still is able to do like the memory switch thing because he just kind of like freezes for a second this
Oh, okay.
time instead of like actually fainting.
Okay, okay.
And then like shakes his head and it's like, oh, he's Gabubu again. He like calls Iggy's name. Yes. Thank
Okay.
fucking God.
Give this man a helmet.
Right,
Keep that
really.
dome safe.
Gabubu, he's got no recollection of his amnesia, I guess, obviously, at this point,
Yeah.
which I don't know. That's like a separate tangent to do one day about like amnesia. Like, do you forget if you have amnesia or do you only forget the things that happened while you had amnesia? Do you forget what?
I
I
bet
don't know.
it's
There's different
case by
kinds. There's
case.
retrograde and there's different types of amnesia.
Yeah, exactly.
And actually, this is irrelevant because this is bongo beania anyways, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Alexis, you can't compare the two.
How dare I?
I can't believe you tried to. That's so
I know.
embarrassing.
I'm so embarrassed. Yeah. So, anyways, yes, he has no memory of what has been going on for the past like 24 hours. The
Mm,
last thing he remembers is pranking Iggy the morning before. So
mm.
Iggy's like, okay, well, I don't really have time to catch you up to speed.
Yeah.
I'll explain the whole thing to you later. Right now, we need to get Alex and Zoe out of this cave. So Iggy turns around and runs back towards the cave to try. And oh my God, it's actually so adorable.
Did
When
you
I
try to
talked
push
about
it?
earlier, it's so adorably sad, Grace. Like,
Just trying so hard.
because he gets there long before Gabubu does, which I'll explain in a second why.
Okay.
But he's trying so hard. He's like using all of his little iguana might to push this massive boulder,
Nothing's
and he's
happening.
puffing and puffing. He like starts crying, Grace, because he's like really because the earthquake is still going on around them. He's really scared for Zoe and Alex being there, and he's just like, please, please move. And you
Oh
can tell that he's like trying so hard, but like
my God.
nothing is happening, and you can tell that he wishes that he was so strong, but he's just so weak and little and tiny and he's not doing anything, and it's so
Oh
sad, seriously, because
no.
like the music is getting all stressful too as this
I'm
earthquake is
so
going on.
sad.
I know. I was like, Iggy, oh, he's so cute and he has so much heart but so
Yeah, he
little
really
muscle and
does.
strength. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason why he's doing this all by himself is because Gabubu, he's still like trying to figure out what the fuck is
Still
happening.
concussed.
He's still
And the
concussed.
earth is shaking.
And the earth is shaking. And because the earth is shaking, all of these coconuts are falling around him. And yeah, he gets hit on the head like 5 more times by coconuts, switching back and forth to Peter Applebottom,
No.
into Gabubu, into Peter Applebottom, into Gabubu. And just like, again, increasing this TBI very, very
Oh
dramatically
no.
and
Okay.
concerningly. And eventually, thankfully, the final coconut to hit him does turn him back into Gabubu. And so he, like,
Okay.
for real snaps back to it. He slowly, gently picks Iggy up as Iggy's like
Oh.
crying, trying to push this rock. He just gently picks him up and puts him to the side, like, I got this, Iggy. And he starts to push the boulder out of the way, clearing the entrance to the cave and saving Zoe and Alex.
Mm-hmm.
But just as Alex and Zoe run out to freedom, a rock slide causes the entire cave to collapse and drags Gabubu deep down underground with it.
Oh shit.
Buried underneath the rubble.
Uh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Iggy is distraught. He's
Yeah.
like, he sees Alex and Zoe like through the fog of it all, like coming out and like coughing and everything. And he's like, where's Gabubu? What happened? And they explain to him that he got caught in that rock slide and he's down at the bottom of the rubble. Iggy is like screaming. He's like on his knees, like, Gabubu! Because he just thought he got his best friend back after this
Yeah.
long 24, 36, however many hours of
This is
dealing with Peter
insane.
Applebottom and Shecky Gorilla
Uh-huh.
and all of that just to now lose his friend in this earthquake and in this rock slide. But Thankfully, in between Iggy's pained cries of sadness, we see the shadow of a gorilla
Hell
emerge
yeah.
from the clouds of ash and the
That's pretty
dirt
fucking
around the
cool.
cave through the rubble. It's super badass. Yeah. And out climbs Gabooboo, proving to his friends that he is both badass and invincible.
Yeah, for real
And
though.
alive, I guess,
Oh
too.
yeah, that too.
Except,
Too
unfortunately,
easy.
at some point, the head got boinked again on his way down there.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is again Peter Applebottom.
Someone get another rock. Just chuck it
Shecky
at him.
Gorilla would have been better right now.
What's one more concussion at this point?
At this point, he's like 18 and
Yeah.
19. Actually, no, I know someone who's had like that many concussions. I just realized it's bad. That's another story for another day. Yeah, but
Damn.
they basically said the same thing. They're like, yeah, I got another one. It's at this point,
Right.
like,
What
I know the
difference?
drill. Like, what's
Yeah.
the difference? I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch out around you.
Yeah. That's wild.
It's crazy. So yeah, at that point,
Study
like,
this
what is
person.
one more? What is,
Yeah.
yeah, honestly, they need to give their brain to science. Anyways,
Yeah.
so Alex almost gives in at this point when Peter Applebottom demands they hand over the core spore. He's like, fine, just fucking take it so we can get out of here. He's getting
Uh-huh.
ready to place the core spore in Peter's hand until Zoe's phone beeps and the text message from Livingston finally makes its way through.
Don't give him the spore. All caps.
Danger, danger, devil face, and skull and
Gorilla, gorilla.
crossbones. Yeah. And Zoe, she tells Alex immediately, like, stop, hold on, no. Don't give him that core spore. And she reads the message out loud. Stay away from Peter Applebottom. He's nothing but trouble. And so
Ah.
Iggy's like, yeah, no shit, we knew that already. We hate
Yeah,
this
this fucking
guy,
guy.
obviously. Yeah. But Peter, he reaches in to grab the spore from Alex and like yank it from him so that he can
Yeah.
run off and have it to himself. But classically, he slips on a banana peel because they obviously
Ah.
brought a bunch of bananas with them on this journey. He falls, he hits his head on a coconut on the way down as he makes impact with the ground,
Wow.
again, knocking him unconscious. Like we said, what's one more at this point?
Yeah,
And
put in
this
the
is the
pile.
one to fix it all, as we find out later. It's actually bad though, because he's unconscious for a long time, long enough for the kids to like take him all the way back to the library, and they just kind of like prop him up like he's like passed out, leaned up
In the chart,
yeah.
just like roll him out of it.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So
I guess what's one
they get
more? It's bad.
what's one more if it's the worst of them all though.
Yeah.
Like if it puts them out for like an hour.
I
Yikes.
don't know. Yikes.
So anyways, they are able to get back to the library and they return the spore to the core, relieved that Peter Applebottom is gone and that at the same time, though, that he was correct about everything. And Iggy also reflects on the fact that their time with Peter Applebottom gave him a much greater appreciation for Gabooboo, like for his sense of humor, for his courage, and for his ability to like also have fun and not take himself too seriously. Because on the one hand, they had Peter Applebottom, who could never have fun a day in his life. He took everything way too seriously in life. And on the other hand, they had Shecky Gorilla, who literally could not stop joking and was, not willing to help them at all to find the core spore. So they are now like, Gabooboo, he's just right. He's not too serious. He's not too funny. He's the perfect balance.
Aww.
And they're so happy that he's back. And because, yes, he wakes up from his unconsciousness only a moment later with no memory, again, of his amnesia and only remembering the time that they spent harvesting the coconuts the morning before. Iggy tells him that it's been a crazy past day and a half and that he got hit on the head and thought he was some dude named Peter Applebottom. To which Gabooboo responds, that guy's a freak. Which I was like, oh, because it clears up some confusion for me. Because I was like, okay, this still doesn't explain how Gabooboo knows about Peter Applebottom, though. How did they switch or how did he get Peter Applebottom's memories? How did this all happen? And Alex asks that. He's like, wait, so you do know about Peter Applebottom, even though like you had amnesia and you don't remember being him, you do know about him. And Renee steps in and confirms this. She's like, he does know about him. Gabubu actually just recently rented a bunch of books about Peter Applebottom, his biography, and a joke book from Shecky Gorilla.
Yes, I thought I was going to ask you at the end what the fuck the books had to do with this, because I thought they weren't going to come back, but okay.
Exactly. So I guess the theory
So if he had just read like Mein Kampf, like what would have happened? Quick question, Animalia.
First of all, I guess they don't have that book in the library in Animalia, or it was not on Gabubu's radar, thank God. And yeah, right. So then it also calls into question, was this actually Bongo Beania, or was this just like it wasn't actually Peter Applebottom like taking over Gabubu's body, or like Gabubu wasn't actually becoming someone else? Was it literally just a case of false memory where
it got
almost replaced, like in a Don Quixote kind of way, where like the books that he's reading just they become his reality in this state of amnesia. So it calls into, again, Livingston, where's your medical license? Are you
circling that one on my board? Not
Are you qualified to make such a diagnosis?
Yes. I'm calling the medical board, which is Rini.
Yes. Which is Livingston.
Doing a Scottish accent because he knows Rini would rat him out. She'd be like, he's fine.
I'm calling my lawyer, which is also Livingston. He's the only lawyer in Animalia. Yes. So Gabubu, he is awake now, and he does tell them that, like, yeah, I read these books on Peter Applebottom, and he was a smart dude, but he was kooky and intense, and he wanted to take over all of Animalia, but he never had any fun. He was all work and no play. And that's what I learned from him, that you can't take everything so seriously. So that is why he was making it a point to have so much fun while they were doing the harvest, because he didn't want to be all work, no play, makes Johnny a dull boy. He wanted to have fun with his friends and hang out and vibe like normal teenage boys do.
Yeah.
But he remembered how much his friends were annoyed with all of his pranks earlier the day before. So he does promise that he will be a bit more serious in the future. But Iggy stops him and he's like, no, dude, joke away. Find the funny, find the fun. That whole thing you said before, because you wouldn't be you without that. You'd be Peter Applebottom. And in the end, Livingston notes that they got what they needed from Peter Applebottom in the end. He finished the book, How to Repair the Core and Save Animalia for Nitwits. So, in the end, he did help them a little bit.
Yeah.
The only catch about this book, well, they open it up and they start to read it, and Gabubu is like, oh, crap. This is written in ancient gorilla. Do you know how to translate this?
Get and a Livingston's
coconut. Like, exactly. And so Gabubu jokingly is like, oh, maybe we should bring back Applebottom, actually, just so we can translate this for us real quick. And everyone's like, no, we'll figure this out on our own. And they just like toss the book to the side. That's the end of the episode.
Wow. What a ride. That was so fun.
What a ride. What a rush.
Wow. And it makes more sense of when Gabubu had said in a previous episode, like, his name means trouble. He had already read that bio, or he was like in the middle of reading it, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. My guess is that was like 3 episodes or so before this. I forget, or maybe I forget what episode number it was, but my guess is that it took place maybe a couple weeks before this book. So he had before this episode. So he had started reading that book, because he does say something like, I just returned the books to the library yesterday. Like after Rini calls out that he checked out books. I empathize or sympathized actually with Gabubu in this moment, because he's like, I just returned them. I returned them a couple of days ago. I promise. And Rini's like, triggered. I know. I'm just saying that you had them, and that's how you know about Peter Applebottom. Yes, I was triggered. So it sounds like he returned it literally like the day before this episode took place or something. So exactly, he read through the cover leaflet if you will, about
Yes.
the Spark Notes version of what Peter Applebottom was
Was
all
all
about. The
about.
same day that Iggy happened to ask him, or
Yep,
that
he
he
knew
happened to bring him up in
his name means
conversation.
trouble.
Yeah, it
Wow,
was
great
fresh.
job.
Thank you. Thank you. So now we all know a little bit about who Peter Applebottom is, and
I'm
honestly,
glad.
a little bit about the history of Animalia. There's been some
Yes.
dramas going on
Y-
there from day one.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
like
And
there
about the core.
could be more cores.
Mm-hmm.
Could
They
be
can be
more
built,
gods.
apparently. So who built this one?
Aren't
And
all gods man-made anyways?
girl, oof. Deep cut. Um,
Animalia asking deep questions.
deep questions. And it makes you wonder too if they're saying that like he was one of the early architects and
Yeah, that's what it
founders and
kind of sounds
inventors.
like.
It sounds like there was a point where there was more than one person in charge of Animalia, because if he was trying to take over, like someone else had to be there to kick him out.
Yeah.
Or like there had to be a decision among people, or maybe it was like a coup. Maybe it was a revolution, the Great Animalian Revolution, and
Revolution
he was
led by Peter
exiled.
Applebottom.
No, led by Livingston. Like it was
Oh yeah, and exiled Peter
when Peter
Applebottom.
Applebottom tried to take over to create his own
Hmm.
core or whatever. The Animalians were like, "Hey, we can't
Get the
have
fuck
this."
out.
So yeah,
Whoa.
but and now all of the power is concentrated in one
All is
person, and
Livingston's
kind of Reedy
paws,
too. But it's
but
all
mainly
Livingston.
Livingston.
What
Wow.
if it was actually a false flag? What if none of the stuff about Peter Applebottom is true, actually, and it was just a
This is all
convenient way to
propaganda.
get rid? Exactly.
All propaganda. They needed a way to get rid of him. They
Hmm.
actually tarnished his reputation.
Exactly. And they tarnished the whole like order of inventors who were sought to look over the
Yes.
core to like make it so that they would
He,
consolidate all the power in
I would say he
Livingston and get rid of.
consolidated all the power, aka all the knowledge about the core. So only quote unquote Livingston can take care of the core because he's the only one who
Exactly.
can. So
Yeah.
he said all these
Hmm.
inventors were crazy. All these inventors were
Yeah.
trouble. Don't
They're
believe what they
insane.
said.
Yeah, they were mad scientists. They wanted to create their own core when
And you
in
know what?
reality, that's why this core is dying, because there's only one and it can't sustain all of life in Animalia.
Yes,
And in fact,
it needs more.
Peter Applebottom knew this. And so
Yeah,
he's
he
like,
was like,
we
we
need
need
more
more.
cores.
That core is gonna
Exactly.
degenerate and die.
Yes,
We need
exactly. We
others.
need more.
It needs to be a system of cores, not one, just like a good government, not just one, not just one dictator here.
You need a backup. You need a fail safe for when things go wrong and
Because
to
they
also
will.
alleviate all the pressures. Exactly. Things go
And
wrong.
Livingston sitting there being like, when do people need a leader the most? When there's a disaster.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And
Don't they
he's
need
he's
me?
in with Tyra on this because he knows that Tyra's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
clean up on that disaster capitalism, girl. Are
Yes.
you
This,
kidding me? Oh my God.
where's
Graham
my,
Base, if you're listening,
I
give us
need
a
another
call.
spool of yarn. I ran out. Hold on. This is a brand new one.
Pause. Time out. Both of our backgrounds next week is just going to be red yarn everywhere with pictures of characters from Animalia and like the
With
core
Livingston
in
at
the
the
middle.
center.
Yeah. Wow. Grand Base, if you're out there listening, give us a
You
call.
son of a bitch.
You son of a bitch.
You
We're
sick son
on to
of a
you.
bitch.
You evil genius. We have so much to learn from you.
C is for coup. D is for dictator.
F is for false flag. P is for propaganda.
Whoa.
C
Wow.
alternatively is for conspiracy and cover up. But yeah.
Cover up
Wow.
conspiracy.
Yeah. That's the second and third edition of
G is for
Animalia.
grassy knoll.
Yes. Exactly.
Wow. Great job.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm
Thank you.
shook by
So
this.
as we continue our theories and kooky conspiracies about this
Yes.
show, until next week, Grace, who should everyone tell about this show?
I think you should tell a seismologist. So
Hmm.
someone who studies ground tremors and waves through the earth, including but not limited to my husband, because that's what he's now studying.
Yeah. I
So
did think about that when
yes,
earthquakes and like seismology
yes.
came up. I was like, Justin will enjoy
So
this one. So
tell a
hopefully he does.
seismologist. And who else should
Yes.
they tell after that?
After that, you've got to tell Graham Base. I'm sorry. He needs to know.
I assume he's still alive, but I don't
good point. I actually don't know when these books came out.
But
he was like a consulting producer.
Get your Ouija board out. Okay.
Yeah, again.
Hold a seance. I assume he's alive still.
I want to say he is. I'm going to look it up, try to look it up very quickly. Oh, thank God I still have the Animalia Wikipedia page pulled up on here so I can very quickly look it up as I am. Yes, he is still alive. He's 67 years old. So,
he's got
and he lives in England. British Australian. Yeah. So hopefully he is still alive long enough for us to all let him know to this podcast, and it's all love. Any jokes that we make about it
Instagram,
it's all love. Oh my God, you just got yourself a new follower, Mr. Base. Maybe two, maybe even three, depending on
we're definitely about to follow him.
Absolutely. So yes, Graham Base, thank you for all of your work in creating the books, especially. I know you helped with the show, but especially for the books. Check us out. We would love to chat with you about all. But you knew this was coming. The writing's all over the wall. Anyways, until next time on that note.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.